What's up, everyone? I hope you guys had a great holiday. It is after Christmas, which means we are a couple weeks into Dragonflight Season 1. So I have been playing RBGs every single day. I've remained on the top page on the ladder for RBGs for the entirety of Season 1 so far. So the point in saying that is I think I have a pretty educated opinion now on what's good and what is not. So thank you all who checked out the last tier list, liked, comment, subscribe. Today we're going to do it all over again, except it's going to be an updated version. Also, I'm going to try something new in the video. So let's start with the D tier and I'll explain. So the D tier is going to just be these tanks, and basically the way I'm going to do it today is obviously we have the tiers S, A, B, C, D, but I'm also going to go left to right. So we're going to put like Blood DK would be the best in this tier, and then it would be Prot Pally is the best, the second best, sorry, third best, and then like the worst would be Prot Pally. So we're going to go the tiers and then also left to right within each tier. Okay, so within this tier, I think Blood DK could move up. Obviously, I think there's Ocean Man, Healer Stealer, that are Blood DKs. They basically just have infinite grips and they can steal a healer and basically keep them out of the game for a whole RBG. So Blood DK could move up here. I don't think it's meta. I think there's like one or two dudes that play it. So for that reason, Blood will be the best in the D tier, but I don't recommend it. It's going to stay in the D tier, but it could move up if you're doing that strategy or whatever. The Prod Paladin, um, yeah, that it would be next. I mean, it's like a weak version of like an FC or base sitter or something like that. Like, they bring a little bit of utility. They can maybe run a flag, but it's not really that great. Same with Brewmaster. Brewmaster can actually sit a base, so Brewmaster could move up as well. Brewmaster can sit a base, and they bring some cool stuff to the table. They have pretty good mobility. But yeah, all in all, I think the three, the Blood DK, Prot Pally, Brewmaster, these all could maybe move up to like C tier, maybe B tier. Haven't seen much from Prot Warrior. Okay, moving on to C tier. It's nice and short. Um, I'm gonna kind of throw an asterisk here. I think I've tried with a mage. I was interested in Frost Mage base sitting. Um, was not very impressed. However, I do think that like I just haven't seen many mages. I also was not impressed with the ones I did try. However, I just don't think there's that many mages in RBGs, and I think if like a Zaryu or a Venruki were to hop on mage, play one of these specs, whether it's fire or frost, having a rank 1 player play that, it could probably move up to B or A tier. I think it's safe to assume like if you had a really, really good player on mage, it could probably bring some usefulness to a team. However, for an average player like me or you, I think mages generally are C tier. I think that's a pretty safe assessment. Don't see them very often, don't do very well with them. Going to leave them at C tier. All right, let's get into the B tier here. So remember, it's going to be what I think is the best in B tier is on the left, and it just basically goes left to right from best to worst of the tier. So let me just get them all on the board here. Yep, so far so good. Okay. So that's going to be the B tier, and as always, B tier is what I consider the bottom of the playable category. So basically, S tier is like meta. You want to stack your group with as many S tier classes as possible. A tier is also really good. You're going to have classes that are probably A tier in your group. B tier is what I consider like you can make it work, but it's not necessarily meta. So this B tier rankings, basically, let me explain. Arms Warrior, I have seen it seems to be decent on defense on flag maps. However, Fury seems to be much better. So for that reason, I'm going to put Fury ahead of Arms. So our Arms is going to stay B tier. The Boomkin, the reason I have Boomkin as the best B tier is because of its utility. I know Boomkin isn't as good as it used to be. Obviously they've been really good in RBGs for a lot of seasons in the past. But this season, it's not the best Druid spec. It's actually probably the worst Druid spec. But it doesn't change the fact that it has stealth and movement capabilities. So what this means is it can sit bases with Force of Nature talent with the Treants. It can also, so yeah, stealth and the Treants, and then plus your trinket. Druids can, they can live long enough to sit a base. They sit in stealth. So typically on a team, you're gonna either want 2 rogues as your base hitters or 1 rogue and 1 druid still. So boomkins can fit that category, meaning that groups might take boomkins for a base sitting spot. So that's why I have them as the best B tier spot. Even though they're not the best damage anymore, they still have the CC. They can clone cap with a rogue or by themselves. They can also sit the bases. That is why they are the best of the B tier. Let me go down the list quickly. Frost, I don't think it's as good as Unholy. The blind is okay. But yeah, I don't think it's comparable to Unholy. I think Frost is the lesser of the DK specs. So I'm going to leave it at B tier. Demo Warlock is really good in Arena, but in RBGs, not so much. I think it might be a good base sitter, but haven't really seen that at all. I think most people will just usually just have like I said, a druid or rogue sitting. So Demo, I mean, it could be okay. It's probably got really good damage and could base it, but it's just typically if you have a warlock on your team, they're playing either Affliction or Destro, because they just bring more value. Excuse me, more value in RBGs right now. Holy Priest have not seen a lot of, but I do think that they would fit into some compositions. I have been recommended to get a Holy Priest when I've had certain compositions. However, once again, I don't think they're the strongest. I also never really see Holy Priest in RBGs. So for that reason, and there's just better healers right now. We'll get to that. For that reason, they're B tier. Beast Mastery Hunter can sit bases. That's pretty much why they're B tier. Haven't really seen many of these either. Arcane Mage. Arcane Mage seems to be the best mage spec. I've lost to 1 mage this season, I think, and it was an Arcane Mage. So, like I said, I don't see many. Honestly, if you asked me how many DHs have I lost to, I would have no idea. But like you see so few mages that I'm able to remember, like, oh, we faced a mage that one time. So yeah, don't see a lot of them, but I guess this is the best spec for mages. I don't know. Still don't think they're that great in RBGs though. Survival Hunter, I don't play Hunter. I've been told Marksman's the best spec. So for that reason, I have the Beast Mastery that can sit. Base is better, obviously. I have that ahead of the Survival for for the base sitting reason, and because I was told Marksman is also better, I'm just gonna put Survival as the worst Hunter spec in RBGs. Rest of Shaman, Holy Pally. Yep. I mean, don't really see them. They're It sucks. I wish they were better. I don't even think they're that bad. I just think the S tier healers are so far ahead of the other healers. It's basically evokers and mistweavers that are just so damn good in RBGs that nobody else even gets to play the game. Like nobody wants to play an H power or Rest of Shaman. And the people that do want to play those classes, they don't get picked because the other classes are just so much better. Like I have friends that want to play these classes, but we won't invite them because we just know double evoker mistweaver is so much better. So I would love to see these other healers get buffed, even Holy Priest, like and the rest of Shaman and Holy Pally. Once again, I don't think they're bad. I just I think it is in B tier. It's playable, especially if you have a good player on it. Maybe you could even move up to A tier on Holy Pally or Rest of Shaman or Holy Priest. Good player gets on it. Maybe it's A tier if you have a good team. But it's once again, it's just you're almost at a disadvantage if you play with these healers. Okay, I'm gonna try and wrap this video up. We're pushing the 9-minute mark, so we're gonna run through this A tier quickly. A tier is gonna be Unholy Death Knight as the best A tier class, then Shadow Priest, then Fury Warrior, then Resto Druid, then Disc Priest, both Shaman specs. I originally had. I'll explain after. Let me get the rest on the board. So once again, it is from left to right is going to be the best to worst of this. So yeah, Unholy Death Knight I think is the best. Once again, Death Knights they're similar to like rogues or like DHs where they fit an objective role that almost every RBG team wants. That role being that they have Death Grip and they have Chains of Ice. So Death Knights can basically slow an entire offense push on a flag map. They can slow teams rotating from like lava to middle on Silver Shard Mines. They can slow people trying to chase your orbs on Temple. Chains of Ice is really good. Death Grip obviously brings, you can get enemies in on you, especially if you have a melee cleave. Your Death Grip's going to be like your go almost. Lots of control from Unholy Death Knights. And it's, like I said before, I think it's the best spec. It does the most damage. So I think Unholy Death Knight is almost mandatory in a group, but not quite. You don't need a DK, but most groups will probably have one. All right, Shadow Priest, it's good. Good damage. Psy Fiend, good CC. We have Stun, Silence, Fear. Um, Once again, I don't think it's mandatory, but I'm pretty happy with where Shadow Priest is right now. I think we're a strong class, but we're not like the best. Not mandatory. We're not like super OP, but we're good. We're good. So I'm going to leave us as the second best A tier class. Fury Warrior, I've seen them top damage in RBGs. Seems like it's the best spec for Warriors. So I'm going to put that as the third best. Then I have Resta Druid and Disc Priest. I think Resta Druid is low-key pretty good. I don't see a lot of them, but I've done well with them this season. And then Disc Priest, done well with them as well. I will say, once again, even with really, really good players, if anybody from Blizzard is ever randomly going to make it to this point in one of VG Wizards' videos, this is the takeaway. We have like super good, some of the best healers playing these classes, Resta Druid and Disc Priest, and if it's even close to being somewhat of an even game, if the other team has an Evoker or a Mistweaver, we just lose, man. Like they just, sorry, not an Evoker. If they have double Evoker, Mistweaver, so if it's double Evoker, Mistweaver, and we have, even if we have an Evoker, a Mistweaver, and then one of these, like a Resta Druid or a Disc Priest, we lose on mana, man. It could be an even game for like 4 minutes. And these two classes in the S tier, the Evoker and the Mistweaver, they're just so much better than the other healers. We'll have insanely good healers on Resta Druid and Disc Priest, and it doesn't matter because the Evoker and the Mistweaver combo where you stack two Evokers and one Mistweaver, or two Mistweavers and one Evoker, it is just so much better. So yes, Resta Druids and Disc Priests, A tier. But once again, I can't look at you guys with a straight face and recommend that you take these classes. I highly recommend that you go double Evoker, Mistweaver as the meta healing comp. It is so much stronger than anything else in the game. If you can't do that, do double Mistweaver Evoker. It's just as good. One's really good against melee, one's really good against casters. Casters would be the double Mistweaver, melee would be the double Evoker, because obviously you get two revivals if you stack two monks, and you get, if you have two Evokers, it's better against melee. They're quick. They don't really cast that much. Okay, let's move on. I had Enhance better than Ellie, but after the recent nerfs, looks like Ellie's going to be a little bit better. I like Shamans right now. Of course, they're one of the few classes left with a knock in the game. So, yeah, Enhance, really good, but after the nerfs, I'm going to have to throw Ellie ahead of it. Ret Paladin, good damage, really good Ret Paladin utility. I like having Rets. However, they die super easy. So having a Ret Paladin on your team, I think it requires a good team. You need good healers in order to keep your Ret Paladin up. You also need your Ret Paladin to be a good player to keep himself up and not overextend and stuff. So Rets can bring a lot of scary damage to a team fight, but they are incredibly easy to kill and hard to keep up. So if you can keep your Ret Paladin alive, it's an A tier. Monk, same story. I'm not going to go too much into Monk. I think they survive in Shadowlands. They were easy to kill, so you didn't take them very often. But similar to Ret, now they do enough damage, and they also actually survive a lot more than they did in previous expansions. So monks are similar to Rets. I think they're good damage. As long as they can survive, they're worth taking. They're a good class. Evoker DPS, haven't actually, surprisingly, have not seen a lot of Evoker DPS, but I do think they're A tier. They have good damage. They also have like some utility, like we've had like roots, like huge roots or like huge AoE raid-wide damage, you know, where they fly in the air if you're all stacked or something. If you gets a huge root where he stacks you all your melee and everybody's rooted, and then boom comes in with the AoE. It can be good. I don't think it's S tier by any means. I don't see a lot of them. I'm telling you, Evoker DPS don't see a lot of, surprisingly, but I don't think they're horrible. I think they're decent. Gonna give them an A tier. They're quick on the map too. They can get around a map super quick. Evokers are fast. They're almost like demon hunters. So Outlaw Rogue, have not seen a lot of it, but it's a rogue. Rogues are mandatory in RBGs, I would say. So because rogues are mandatory, this being the worst of the rogue specs in my opinion, or at least the least played, it could move up. Outlaw, if this might actually have the best chance to move up, just because I don't necessarily know how good Outlaw is right now, so I could be messing this up. But because rogues are mandatory in RBGs, they bring that objective role, base sitting and taking bases, and that stealth threat. Um, they could move up, but I'm going to put them here for now just because the other two specs I think are more played and they're better. Lastly, Marksman Hunter, don't see a lot of them, but apparently they're pretty good. Okay, moving on to the S tier. Once again, it's left to right. So Evoker Healer is going to be the highest value class to play right now in RBGs. It is head over heels, the absolute best spec in the game. This healing is so stupid, it's absolutely broken. Like I said, you probably want two, if not three Evokers because it's so much better than everything else. Okay, Mistweavers, similar story. Really good in RBGs right now. Both of these classes just have so much healing that it's noticeable. If you were to take other classes, like I said, you can notice health bars dip lower and lower, and you go out of mana and yada yada yada. When you have these two healers, it's so much better. I already said that, so let's move on. Demon Hunter, I think, is the best DPS class in the game, especially highest value if you have a Vengeance off spec. So Havoc and Vengeance, I'm going to pair them together. Best duo spec in the game, probably. It's best DPS. It also plays that objective role, so you have two base sitters. You'll have a team fight. Okay, so it's a triangle, and basically, if your bases get hit, your Demon Hunter can go to defend your bases, right? It's the quickest guy out. It can also spectral sight if it is out, right? If it's sitting between your bases here, it can spectral sight and look each way, find enemy stealthies. I don't know how my hand signals worked on the camera. Sorry if it sucked. But yeah, they can spectral sight and get enemy stealth hits. So if an enemy rogue is hitting your bases or something, your demon hunter that is floating or peeling for your bases can spectral sight and stop that enemy rogue from really being effective. Also, it can do the opposite where it runs at bases. Demon hunters can just run at enemy bases, so that instead of their rogue getting to hit yours, he can't do that because your demon hunter just spectral sights and runs at his base. So he'll be stuck defending all day instead of hitting your bases. So demon hunters very, very good. But they also have incredible damage, fastest mobility. So yeah, and then demon hunter tank is argued to be the best right now. It is certainly the meta. But as we get on this list, I'll explain why Guardian might actually be better. Fail Druid, I've seen them top damage in BGs. They're arguably the best DPS in RBGs. They also play the role of a rogue, so it's a very scary threat. I think Feral Druids are one of the best DPS in the game because they can play that base sitting / objective role, go hit bases, or they can be the best in team fight. They have really quick mobility, and similar to the Demon Hunter, if it has a Guardian off spec, it becomes another and probably the second highest value player in RBGs or class in RBGs. If you can play both these specs, it's incredibly effective for your team. Okay, next up we have the two rogue specs. So Subtlety is going to take the crown for best, and then Assassination. I think Subtlety has a little bit more utility to offer. Assassination's a little bit more damage. So in terms of sitting bases, hitting bases, playing objectively, I think Sub Rogue's probably better. If maybe you're playing double rogue, you could send your assassination rogue team fight. But assassination rogue can sit a base and can play the same role as a sub rogue. It's just not as effective at it. So for that reason, gonna put sub first, assassination second. And then we go into the warlocks. Destro I think is the best right now after all the buffs and nerfs and stuff recently. I think Destro is the best. I think kills are extremely hard to come by right now, so spread dot damage and like hide damage is not necessarily good anymore, which is what Affliction was. I think the actual like kill damage, like one shot damage or like chunking chaos bolts, I think that brings way more to a team right now towards actually landing a kill than maybe useless pad damage. So that's why I have Destro ahead of Affliction. And lastly, I have Guardian Druid in the S tier. I think it low key could be better as a flag carrier and base sitter. It's certainly good on off cards on Silver Shard Mines. It's very good. One of the best classes to have for that. It can also sit bases very effectively still, so it's very good for that. And then, yeah, flag carrying. The thing is, DH is you can just train them all game when they're flag carrying, so they're actually kind of easy to kill. Now it depends on like what they have on D. If they have like a rogue helping them on D, like escorting them, and the rogue just opens on whatever opens on their DH. That's a good away, or like a DK, or like the monks that are healing him. Maybe they ring the door and the DH gets away, and your team can't go through the ring of peace. Um, so like DHs can kite, but honestly, like you can just train a DH across the map. The benefit of having a Guardian is you can kind of pick when you want to, because it can just stealth. So you don't have to like full escort your guy and be worried about your DH dying across the map. Your druid just can stealth there all sneakily, and when your team is ready, okay, pick now, we're safe. And then you can pick and kind of go. So it's debatable. I've actually heard some pretty high-end players say Guardian might even still be better. I can't confirm that. I think DH, I'm leaning towards it's still more of a DH meta, but I'm not counting Guardians out. I'm not counting Guardians out. Okay, that's the list. Thanks everybody. See you on the next one. Bye.